Well, hello again, everybody. It's Rob from PMDG back with another episode of our 737 Small Bites program. This is episode number 11, and this time we're going to be covering panel states. With a PMDG product, there's a lot more that you can do than just saving and loading a saved flight. We've given you a way to kind of peel back some of the layers of saving and loading in order to help you customize the flight experience with your PMDG product and really make it your own. This episode is going to take you through all of that. Okay, welcome to the flight deck. The airplane's on the stand here in Renton. We're plugged into ground power. This is a pretty standard configuration in which you can expect to find the airplane when you select a parking spot as the location in which to load the airplane from the Microsoft Flight Simulator menu. What I'm going to show you is how to customize that a little bit. We're going to start off by going into the setup menu here, and it's from this menu that we are going to control saving and loading the state of the airplane. Now, the state of the airplane is different than a saved flight. A saved flight would be something like saving the airplane in flight over the city of Munich in a certain configuration. A saved state, however, think of it as a reusable condition. You can save the state of an airplane in such a way that you could use it, say, on the ramp in Munich, or you could use it on the ramp in Seattle or in Washington, D.C., because you're saving the condition of the airplane in such a way that it doesn't really care where in the globe it is. A state is independent of the flight of the airplane. So let me give you a working example to kind of demonstrate what I mean, and that might help make this a little bit clearer. We're going to look at a load panel state here, and if you'll see that we've got 3 pages of load panel states that are pre-saved with the airplane for you to use. If you look at them, you'll see that they kind of fit into different phases of flight. And that's because of the way Microsoft Flight Simulator saves flights. You'll notice these lowercase ones and then the uppercase ones. The uppercase ones are on the ground that we have created for you to use. The lowercase ones were created by Microsoft Flight Simulator, and they'll cross a range of conditions, such as when you load the airplane on the runway, or if you load the airplane on the parking stand through the Microsoft Flight Simulator menu. Don't focus on that too much just yet. It'll make more sense once you start to use it a little bit. But you can see that there are a number of different states here, and you can see how, like cold and dark, for example, you could use that in Anchorage, Alaska, or you could use that parked on the ramp in Honolulu, Hawaii. And what it's going to do is allow you to configure the airplane to that condition no matter where you have the airplane placed. So let's talk about how we create those things. We come into the Save Panel State menu and we type a name and we upload it to the file name line here, and then we hit enter, and it will then go and save it all on its own. So let's create one of these now. What we're going to do, the airplane is currently in the apron state. This is the way Microsoft Flight Simulator loads it. So I'm just going to change a few things here to make them our own. We'll set 100 here on the course selector. Let's set the speed to 145. And then let's change the initial altitude to 8,000 feet. And then for kicks, we'll turn the auto brake. Whoops, wrong way. There we go. We'll turn the auto brake on so that it is armed. And now we'll go back down here. We'll hit the PMDG setup menu, and we are going to save this state. Let's call it our test. And we'll upload this to the one left line select and hit execute. The airplane is now saving every system, switch, knob, button, and system state in the airplane. Temperatures, pressures, volumes, heat exchange rates, capacitance, volts, amps, just about everything that might change or define the condition of the airplane is being saved in that panel state. Did I mention switches, knobs, and buttons? All of that stuff. It's all being saved. Now that it's done, that saved state that we just created is available for us to use, and we could reload it here, we could load it someplace else, doesn't really matter. If we are on the ground, we can use that state and it will set the panel up exactly the way we have it set. You can see again it was 100 on the course, 145 on the speed, and 8,000 on the altitude and the auto brake set. So what I'm going to do to demonstrate, I'm going to go ahead and load back the apron condition. This is the one that Microsoft Flight Simulator uses when you load the airplane on a parking ramp. So I've just reloaded that, and you'll notice it's back to those originally configured conditions. So all of our numbers have changed and the auto brake is back to its off position. So let's say this isn't how we wanted the airplane set up. We wanted it set up the way we had it configured. So pretty easy. Just go back in here, say state load. All of these are listed alphabetically too. I don't know if I mentioned that in the beginning. But so we'll go page down and you can see here's our test. That's the one we created. Select it, hit the execute button. The airplane is now reloading that entire scenario exactly as we had it set. And you can see we've got 100, 145, 8,000, and the auto brake is armed as we left it. So what this allows us to do is we can pre-configure the entire cockpit, everything on the overhead, the main panel, just about everything related to the airplane. We can configure, we can come in here, we can save the state, and then we can reuse that however we'd like to. No matter what state Microsoft Flight Simulator loads the airplane in, we can very quickly pull up our own state file so that we get the airplane in the condition that we wanted it. Now, we could load that here, we could have the airplane over here, we could have the airplane over here, we could have the airplane over here. It doesn't matter because saved states are geographically independent. You can use them anywhere you like. And when you do, all of the airplane will be put back together the way you wanted it when you load it. Now we've got a couple of other ways that we can use this and we can leverage this capability to really make the airplane our own. You'll notice in the apron configuration we have belt loaders attached to the forward cargo bin and the aft cargo bin. Let's say that's not how you wanted it done. So okay, great. So we'll go in here to the PMDG FS Actions menu and we're going to go and into the Ground Services menu. We'll page down a couple of times. There's our loaders. We're going to release them both from the airplane and you'll see cargo loaders will start pulling away here any moment now. There they go. So we're going to go ahead and back out of this menu and go back into the simulation menu so that we can save the state of the airplane in this condition. And you know, while we're at it, let's just add a few more things to it just to show off the capabilities. We'll jump up here to the overhead panel. We'll turn the collision light on. That's just kind of an easy thing to go for. And we'll come back down here. We're going to go and save this as a state that we want to use to load the airplane. So we'll call it our test. Can't think of anything more original than that. We'll do this. Hit the execute light. It's being saved. Now, this panel state is being saved with the airplane in this configuration. We can load this airplane on the ground at any airport in the world, load this panel state, and it will be exactly as we have it set up right now. It makes it very convenient, for example, if with your virtual airline you always want to have the airplane set up a certain way. You can do that using this save state method and then just simply load the state when you're done. So you'll see we can come in here. I'm going to load the apron state again just to show you. Okay, so I loaded the apron state. We're back to the condition the airplane was in when Microsoft Flight Simulator loaded it. You can see the loaders are in position there. So now, and also the mode control panel is set up in that default state again. So we'll go back to the load menu here. We'll push the load button. We're going to go down to our test because this is the one that we want to use. And it's done loading. We'll bounce to the outside and see, you can tell the loaders are gone. If we go back inside the flight deck, again, we've got our 100, 145, 8000, auto brake selector's on. And if we glance up at the overhead panel, you'll see, yep, yeah, the collision light's on. So this is definitely our state. So we can now have the airplane in this configuration anytime, any place we like, simply by using the load state menu. Now, let me show you something else kind of fancy. This is high order stuff. You ready? This startup state line right here, this is going to allow us to choose from any state in here and have that be the default state that the airplane loads with no matter what. So in our case, we can select our test and hit execute. And now the startup state that the airplane is going to use is the our test configuration. So when we load the airplane, it will always load without the belt loaders, with the beacon on, and with that 100, 145, 8000 like we had it set up. And that becomes a very convenient feature if you like to have the airplane set up a very specific way every time you come in the sim for your own convenience or for your virtual airline simulation, etc. It just makes it really nice and easy because you can depend on that to ensure that the airplane that you get into is set up the way you want it. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to point out. This is a gotcha here. You gotta use your head a little bit when you set that. For example, if you had it set with the cold dark GPU, you're gonna get an airplane that's completely shut down with a GPU plugged into it. If you then loaded the airplane in flight, that's gonna be kind of inconvenient unless you are really good and really fast with your flows and getting the airplane started. Loading the airplane cold and dark in the air, probably not a smart idea. Just something to think about. You can kind of get yourself goofed up if you don't think it through. So let's just say you want to get rid of this. All you got to do is hit the delete key, press the 4 right line select key, it goes back to dashes right here, and now the airplane will load in whatever default state Microsoft Flight Simulator chooses for it, depending on what state that you load from the Microsoft Flight Simulator menu. Now, let's talk about Microsoft Flight Simulator menu for a minute. There's one other little thing. Let's just say you want to save the flight. So you came out to the Microsoft Flight Simulator menu and you're like, yeah, I'm going to save this to this PC. Okay, so great. You give it a name and you save it. And at the time Microsoft Flight Simulator creates its own saved flight file, it's also going to create a panel state file of the same name. Therefore, if you are creative in how you save your flights, you'll also get a bonus panel state that will save the airplane state exactly like that. And you can use that panel state to load the airplane anywhere else you want using that same state. All you do is go in here, pick the one that you want. That was a lot of information. I recommend you watch this a couple of times and then go play with it in the airplane. You really can't hurt yourself. Just push buttons and play with it. You'll save and load things a few times and you'll figure out how to leverage this to your advantage. Hope you learned something. See you soon.